Hey everybody, welcome to the Fired Up with CJ show. We have some fun in store today. We're going to be talking to Celeste Longacre about her book, Celeste Garden Delight. And what a wonderful, delightful book. It has everything that you can imagine. How to create a bed, what kind of different recipes in here, how to plant specific types of things like carrots and garlic and everything that you can imagine, and then about animals and insects. I mean, there's everything. It's like an encyclopedic book of almost everything you need to know about gardening. So welcome.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited because we're going to be talking about herbs, and specifically how to help someone who may be a novice like myself on starting up an herb garden, because it's so wonderful cooking with herbs.
True.
So I want to ask you some questions. And and you have I assume that you have a year-round garden, but how do herbs fit in, and how do you plan for herbs? Because in your book you actually talk about month to month and all the different things that you're doing for plants, but I assume the same is true for herbs too.
Right. Well, I don't have a full 12-month year garden. I have to put things in jars and put things in the root cellar and put things in the freezer in order to be able to eat from my garden all year round, which I do.
Yes.
But the garden does kind of get put to bed in the winter. I do grow some what I call mash in the winter, and I grow it in a couple of window boxes. I'll show you that. It's okay. Just take a minute and bring the camera around.
Okay.
And that's actually a nice green. It's very high in vitamins and minerals.
Yep, perfect. That's perfect. Yep, that's perfect camera.
And when it first comes up, it looks like two little bunny ears. So the whole window box will be covered with two little bunny ears, and then I thin it, and those two little bunny ears become four little bunny ears, and then I thin it, and then those four bunny ears become 8 bunny ears. And now this has about 4 or 5 plants left in it. But each time I thin it, the plants that are remaining fill out, and I add them to my salads.
What does it taste like? What is it like?
It doesn't really have a whole lot of flavor. It's green. So it pretty much tastes like a green.
Okay, what is it called again?
Mash. M-A-C-H-E.
And can anyone grow it, and what kind of conditions do you need it to grow?
It needs cold weather to start. The seeds won't germinate when the temperatures get above 70 degrees. So I always start it outside in October. And then as soon as they come up, I bring them in and I put them in my garden window. But it allows me to have something really, really fresh all winter long, because I pick it right before I make a salad.
Ah, that's so nice.
I have to buy the rest of the salad, but I mean, there's quite a bit there,
Yeah.
I'm thinning it and eating it, and I have 2 boxes like that.
Wow, and that's only 4 plants too, which is amazing because of all the thinning.
Right now it's only 4 plants. It started out, I probably started with 50 or 60 in there.
Oh my gosh.
But I'm eating them and thinning them, as I go.
Yeah. So I live in Seattle, and there's oftentimes in Whole Foods they'll have a basil plant that has all the roots and everything, and the basil. And then there are these, sometimes people have these little, herb gardens that you can start in your house. And I've not been successful, one, in doing anything with the garlic or the basil plant that I get from Whole Food, which feels like I should be able to do something. The roots, they stick them in water. No,
that plant has been interrupted. That plant's growing cycle has already been interrupted because it's been uprooted. So the roots have been taken out of the soil that they were growing happily in. If you want to grow a basil plant, buy a basil plant from a nursery in the pot.
Okay, got it. So that's
then the plant will be in the pot. The roots will be down into the soil, and the plant will be much happier.
But can it survive
out of the soil?
I see. So that's probably not why it didn't. So then I've had those little plants that you buy, and they look all cute. I get it for Christmas, and I'll do a windowsill, and they never work. So.
Do you have a south windowsill?
I'm not sure. I've tried them in the past. I haven't done them recently, so I don't remember where I put it.
It would need a south windowsill.
Okay, so it would have to get...
Because most plants need a lot of sun.
Oh, okay, got it. So
if you had it in an east windowsill or a west windowsill, it wouldn't work.
Okay, so it really has to be in the right lighting condition. Exactly. Otherwise, which I assume south gets continuous sun or as much sun.
It gets the most. Yes,
gets the most. Okay, got it. So if I'm like, oh, it looks cute over there, it doesn't matter.
If it's not the South, it's not going to be happy.
Okay, got it. Okay, got it. So when do you start your herb garden? I mean, when do you start? I mean, because you start from seed. I don't know if do you start from seeds or what do you start from seeds and what do you actually start from potted plants that you get from the nursery?
I start, the very first thing I start usually is onions, and I plant those inside in late February or early March. So I start those inside, and then I buy my tomato plants and my pepper plants and my paprika pepper plants. I buy those from the nursery because it's not, I don't need to do everything. But I plant in the soil. I do plant lettuce and peas and snow peas and beets and carrots and cucumbers and summer squash and winter squash and
that's a lot. Wait,
parsnips, yeah, wow. A lot.
When do you start?
I start as soon as the snow melts, which this year was kind of late.
Yeah,
the snow really didn't melt until less than a week ago.
Right, because you don't want the frost. If there's frost, sorry for my ignorance, but if there's frost, I assume the seeds not grow if there's frost.
Well, there are a lot of plants that don't mind frost, so I start with those. And I actually have a free gift for people. If you go to my website, CelesteLongacre.com, you can download a list that will show you which plants you can plant before the frost is done and which plants you have to wait.
Ah, okay, got it. So you start off with onions, and then you have a whole plethora of the ones that you just mentioned. But you start off after the frost, and then for vegetables
before the frost is done.
Before the frost.
I go into the yard, and what I basically do, I have to get all the leaves and the sticks and the winter stuff out of the garden.
Right.
And then I start with the things that don't mind frost, like I'll plant lettuce and Swiss chard and peas and snow peas and broccoli and cabbage and Brussels sprouts.
Wow.
All of those things don't mind the frost.
I'm surprised because I would have thought lettuce would just be completely wilted after it was really cold or there was a frost.
Well, it does kind of wilt, so you can't go out and pick it when it's below 32 degrees, but when it warms back up again, it turns back into its lovely self.
Wow, interesting. Okay,
it's really kind of bizarre.
Yeah, okay, so you go out there, you plant stuff. And I've always been curious about herbs because a lot of people use herbs in their garden as kind of, accent plants and such. How do you, and I've heard that it sounds like your garden is amazing, like it's a retreat of some sort. How do you plan it out so that aesthetically it looks good with herbs, with your plants and all these other things? Because it sounds like you have a straight on garden, which is just, rows and rows.
Well, my garden is really it's beds. It's all beds. And when I started the garden, there wasn't really any garden here, so we started with wooden beds. But the wooden we didn't want to use pressure treated wood because that's arsenic.
Right.
So we used just regular wood, and after a while the beds started to rot, and my husband would have to go out every year and he'd have to fix them, and they looked terrible and they looked worse. So one day, a little over 20 years ago, he said to me, I think I'm just going to redo all the beds in stone.
Oh,
so he
beautiful.
Went out and he spent 7 years working 3 days a week all summer long, redoing all my beds in stone.
Wow.
And it's a big garden, so it was a really big project.
That's gorgeous. It must be gorgeous.
Beds. What?
Yeah, it must be gorgeous. That would be really pretty.
When he was done doing the beds, he asked me what I wanted in the paths. And I said, stone would be nice. And so he spent another 3 years making all the stone paths in between all the stone beds. And then what I did was I planted creeping thyme in between the stones.
Yes.
Yeah. So I have a mountain of thyme.
Can you eat that? Okay, so I've seen creeping thyme because I actually have I have a stone pathway too, which I've been trying like crazy to grow everything between the cracks. And nothing will grow. I've tried moss, and it has too much direct sunlight, so it would kind of get yellow and kind of cruddy. Does creeping thyme is that something that will work?
Oh yeah, creeping thyme looks really, really nice. I have some right here.
But how can you fit that in between the cracks of your stone?
Well, the paths are probably in between the rocks are maybe like 2 inches.
Yeah, that's about.
So there's plenty of room for the creeping thyme. And see, this is how it creeps.
Oh, so it goes down and then spreads out.
Well, it goes out.
Yes.
It goes, if the dirt was if it was planted in the dirt,
yes,
it would be planted here.
Yes.
And then this would just creep along and go in any crevice that it could. So it would definitely take up the space. It would go in between your rocks.
And does it feel nice?
But you have to have good soil there too.
Oh, I don't know if I have great soil. So do you have to dig up the stones and put new soil, or only where you're digging in the plants?
I would, it's going to do better if it has good soil wherever it goes.
Yeah.
So you might want to, if it's not good soil, you might just want to dig out a little bit and get some compost. Get a nice bag of local compost.
Yes.
And I think that would probably be the thing to do.
You have a very loving husband, because I'm thinking of asking my husband to do that and be like, no thanks. Find a different plant.
No, that was definitely a labor of love on his part.
Yeah. Okay, and so, and the creeping thyme, can you eat that creeping thyme? Because I've always thought that, I wonder if I can use this in recipes. You can.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Okay, so if you haven't had much success, I feel like you haven't had much success with plants or love or whatever in this particular case, what are some, like, just really good basic plants so that you can build your confidence up and build and planting an herb garden? Which are some good ones that you would start off with?
Well, I think the thyme is a pretty hardy plant. I mean, that was growing under the snow because the snow just left there less than a week ago.
Oh, so it's green year round in that kind of position. That kind of
you don't get a lot of snow where you are.
Yeah, we do.
You might be able to have it all year round. And then this is some oregano.
Yes.
Okay, and the snow was on that until like 3 days ago.
Yeah, in Seattle I can have oregano year round.
Okay, and that oregano spreads slowly. Thyme spreads a little more quickly than the oregano.
Okay.
Okay, so those are two that are easy. In the summertime, basil's not too bad. Okay. You can either buy basil plants from the nursery.
Okay, so are they hard to grow by seed? I actually got seeds.
It's not hard to grow from seed either.
Okay, got it. All right, and now the other thing with all these different plants is there's all these varieties. And are they is all basil equally easy to plant, or are there some where like get that variety, don't get this variety?
I think it depends on what you want to eat, because I think the difference really is in the flavor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I usually plant the Genovese basil. Mm-hmm. And you just want to plant it. Well, I'll show you. You want to do a little seed demonstration?
Yes, please show me. All right,
okay, so I don't happen to have basil here, but I have some lettuce.
Okay.
And I have some carrots and some beets.
Okay.
So we'll see what that looks like. So you want to get your soil all nice and with whatever it needs.
Okay, before you go planting, tell me about the soil, because when I go into Home Depot, they're like, oh, there's this soil, this, that, and then I just go into a glaze and try to get not the cheapest one, but the one that I think will be good. And then they happen to give me all this food that I need to put in with it. So what's the soil that would be best?
The soil that's the best is, I think, something local.
Okay, why?
Try and find something local, because the local stuff, it already has what your area needs. It already is used to your area. Huh. And so I would get something local. I don't really know what your local stuff is, but you could go in and go to a local nursery and ask. And then I maybe would add a little bit of kelp meal. Kelp meal, okay. Kelp meal, because kelp meal has all kinds of minerals in it from the ocean. Mm-hmm. Mm. And if you can find some organic alfalfa meal, that fluffs it up really nicely. So I would add that to it. Okay. And then I would rake it flat. So you put all the soil on top, got to mix it in and rake it flat. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then we're ready to plunge.
Okay, all right, good.
Okay, so there's a couple different ways to plant. And when I plant lettuce, I broadcast it.
What? Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm sitting there seed by seed.
Yeah, there's a lot of seeds there.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Because what I do is as I'm eating it, I thin it and thin it and thin it. And as soon as it gets to be the size of a spoon, I bring it in and put it in salads.
What? Oh, I see. Okay.
Okay? Now, let's see, what's this? But something like beets and carrots, I plant in rows. Okay, so I plant them kind of a thick row.
Oh, so there's 3 or 4 of them in a row. I mean, it's not...
They're kind of close together. The thing about beet seeds is beet seeds are not really seeds. Uh-huh. They're actually small plants.
Oh, okay.
So you're going to get lots of them coming up. But I like to do a jagged row like that, because then when they come up, I can pick the biggest ones and leave the biggest ones in there, because the big beets get bigger than the smaller beets ever will. Uh-huh. So when you thin, you want to thin the smallest ones out.
Okay.
And something like carrots, I do the same thing. We don't like carrots. Well, I don't know my carrots. But I do the same thing with carrots. I plant them in kind of a mixed row like that.
Yes.
And then what you want to do is you want to put, seeds need to be planted about twice the depth of their thickness.
Okay, well, they're not very thick.
They don't need a whole lot of stuff on top. Yeah. Like the lettuce would just need a little bit on top.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And the beets might need a little bit more.
And is that the same soil, or is it a different kind of soil than you have below it?
It's the same.
Okay. And it has
so
the
you
other...
might want to get your bed ready and take a little bit of soil out.
Uh-huh.
Or you can put some compost on top.
Uh-huh.
All right. And when you're weeding, this is my favorite kind of tool, is this kind of a fork.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the forks that you see, they go like this. The ends are down like that.
Yes, I do. Yep,
and
like
I don't
little
like
rakes.
Those forks because you can't dig and loosen up the soil around a weed before you take it out.
Oh, it's like a spork. It has the curve.
Like a pitchfork.
Yeah.
It's a garden fork, but it looks like a fork.
Yes.
And they're actually a little harder to find than the other kind. I don't know why people prefer the other kind, because I definitely prefer this kind.
Yeah, but I'm also looking that you're like spooning stuff out. So like I have a little shovel, and then I have something that looks like that, but that kind of, you can do both. You can just have one tool. Because you're...
Well, and what I mostly use this for is weeding.
Uh-huh.
Because when you want to get a weed, you go under it and you loosen it up from underneath.
Ah, got it. Okay.
Okay. The other thing that this is really important for is to see if your plants need water.
Oh, okay.
If your fork goes down into the soil and it comes up dry,
yes,
your plants need water.
Ah, okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
When they're first planted, very first planted, you really need to keep that top little bit of soil wet.
Yes.
So they probably need water almost every single day.
Can you assume I'm a moron, which I am. How much water does it need? Like, is it misting, or like, do I get a whole, big, gallon of water and pour it on there? Like, how much do you water?
Quite a bit of water on there.
Okay.
Because if you put the right kind of soil in, the water is going to seep right down in. If the water puddles on top, you don't have enough organic matter in your soil.
Oh, I have had water puddle on top. Okay, that means is that like it's all doomed, or what do you do? Just put more organic matter in there?
You need to go to the store and get some more humus or compost or something to dig into the soil.
Ah,
so that it will puddle on top.
Okay, got it. But so, okay, this sounds stupid, but there are the big, watering jugs that have like kind of sprinkle on top. Yep. There's the water,
nice.
That's the best. Okay,
yeah,
so
those are the kind I like.
So those kind of come out, they come out like a rain, not more the consistency of harder than a rain shower. So I just like water over those, and then until when? Until the soil is moist, or when do you stop?
Until it looks pretty moist.
Okay, so it's like saturated like a sponge.
Pretty much.
Okay, got it. All right.
Now and when you first plant, you're going to want to maybe do that every single day until the plants come up. And then once they come up out of the soil, you want to start to let the top part of the soil dry out a little bit so that the roots go down. Oh. And that's where the fork comes in handy again.
Okay.
Because when you feel the top part of the soil and it feels dry, well, maybe it's not dry down here. So if you put this fork in and you lift it up and it's got soil sticking to it, then it's still got moisture underneath.
Right. Okay. Got it. So you have to be careful, because you may go like, oh, time to water, and it's actually
right. If you just felt the top. I mean, you do have to keep that top wet when it's just seeds. Okay. But once they put down a root, you want them to reach down into the soil for the water.
Okay. And how long until they actually start busting out and becoming plants? Like that lettuce.
Well, it depends on what you plant. Some things like lettuce come up pretty quick. Yeah. Carrots take 10 to 14 days.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, carrots are kind of a pain.
Yeah. So if you kind of want a quick response, which I do because I'm so insecure about planting, you want to actually do lettuce, and how many days before you kind of see some evidence that something is happening?
Oh, probably 5 or 6 days.
Oh, okay.
And summer squash is something that comes up pretty fast as well. Zucchini and summer squash, yellow squash.
Yeah. Okay, got it. So that's how you know it's working. And then, so I usually buy the lettuce, and they come in little packs, and they're like, one little lettuce thing is in one little tiny pack. And then and they said, go and plant them in, like, I have these long beds that are made out of or made out of clay, and then like plant them individually, which I did. Mm-hmm. And I got maybe like, and I thought, I'm going to get salad. And I was like, I'm not getting anything. I may be able to have a garnish. Maybe every now and then. I mean, how many do you have to get to really get a salad? And is this whole planting, like, should I do what you did, which is just plant, you had like, whatever, 50 seeds in there.
Right, exactly.
Is that going to be 50?
They were a little close. I wouldn't necessarily put them quite that close.
Yeah.
But I do put them pretty close. Because once they come up, you can start to thin them, and the very first thinnings I give to the chickens because they're too small to be worth washing.
Yeah.
But as soon as they get to be, again, the size of a soup spoon, then you can put them in your salad. And they will keep growing as you thin them. The ones that are left will keep growing.
Okay, I'm sorry for my ignorance again. So a soup spoon is like this, this is how big a soup spoon is to me. You mean like that?
I'm talking about the spoon itself, not the handle.
Yeah, so if I look at the spoon, when I see like that level of, spoon, you're looking at the spoon and you're looking for the bulb when it's planted, it being kind of a soup spoon. And then,
once a lettuce leaf is about this big, it's edible to me.
Oh,
when it's like this big, when it's only this big, it's not worth washing.
Oh, I see. I'm actually thinking of the different type of lettuce. I'm thinking about the ones that are like long and thin. So
right. Well, then whatever is worth, whenever it gets to the point where it's worth it.
I get it. Okay, I get it.
Take the time to wash it. How much is it going to add up in a bowl? And I really do pick it at a pretty small stage because it's really delicious and it's good for you. And I like the lettuce, so.
Yeah. Okay. So tell us a little bit about how you harvest these plants because it's unclear to me. So I have, someone came over and were like, "Oh my God, your basil is flowering." I'm like, "Yeah, it's so pretty. I didn't realize that they had flowers." And they were like, "Duh, you're not supposed to have those flowers." I'm like, "I don't know what I'm doing." So how do you harvest the plants? So you were talking about lettuce and I always think like if I cut all the leaves, then it's dead. It will be gone.
Well, with basil grows up, and so you want to pinch the top off.
Okay.
Because and then the side shoots will grow. You don't want it to flower because it's going to change the flavor of the basil.
Yes, it did.
Okay.
So then you're saying I know what you're talking about. There are these like little buds on the top, and they start growing out this way. So I pinch the top. I just cut that off so that it will grow.
Cut it off and bring it in and eat it, and then it bushes out, and then you pinch the top of that, and it bushes out.
Ah, okay, got it. How about for other plants aside from basil? What are the harvesting for them? Or how do you...
Okay, for cucumbers, you want to pick them when they're about 6 inches long, or sometimes even smaller, depending on varieties. Okay. Summer squash, you also want to pick when it's about 6 inches long. Because if they get big, you've seen those giant zucchinis.
Yeah, they look gross.
they're not as delicious. And carrots, I just thin the carrots and the beets, and until the fall. And I like them to get good size because the bigger they are, the better they keep in the root cellar. Mm-hmm. So in September, I harvest all my root cellar crops and I put them in the root cellar.
Okay, I've never been successful in doing anything with root plants. I did try to plant carrots, and it was like this.
Carrots are tough.
They're like this big.
Really tough.
And then I thought,
carrots are tough.
Yeah, like maybe I'm not doing it right.
I would recommend carrots to a beginner.
Okay, don't
try.
Then
something like a parsnip. Mm-hmm. Okay, parsnips are like carrots.
Okay.
But I picked them in the spring. Wow. So this has gone the whole winter out in my garden, and I picked it today.
Wait, that was after whole winter? That's all you got?
No, this is one of many. I just
No, I know, but that just seems so to me that parsnip I could get at Whole Foods for like $1.50.
Yeah, but this is one of maybe 50.
Oh, I know.
I just brought one in.
Yeah, no, I know that. Okay, got it. But I'm not going to grow 50. I don't have a big enough yard, so I would have like 3 of those and be the whole winter. 3 of these things. I think it's just a difference.
The other thing you can do is you can dry stuff.
Yeah.
You can dry thyme, and you can dry different things. You can dry mint.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about how you went about doing that. So First of all, so when do you start cutting? I mean, that's a lot of cuttings. I would think that my plant would die after I cut off that much off. How much can you cut off without killing the plant? Or can you even kill it?
Well, thyme is very, very hardy. You can practically cut it all.
All it off? And it would
you
still...
You can cut most of it, yeah. Like this one here. Where did I put it? Down on the floor. Okay. So this one here.
Yes.
I would take it right back to here.
Oh my gosh, all the way that close down.
Yep. Yep. So you have quite a bit. And I cut my thyme all year, all summer long, I cut it off.
Okay.
I actually bring it to a fancy restaurant. They love it.
Yeah, I imagine so. Okay, so you cut those plants way back. So same with basil, would you cut it back that much?
I wouldn't cut it back quite that much because you want to keep the tops snipped back. We were talking about that.
Yeah. That's all you want to do is keep the tops.
And the same, but the oregano I would cut back like that.
Wow.
You cut it. You leave a little bit on the ground, and you cut it back pretty low.
Wow.
And then it grows back, and you kind of have to keep cutting it so that it doesn't flower.
Oh, okay.
So I would cut it every couple of weeks at least.
Okay, got it. So you're cutting. I know we have I have thyme in the back, and I'm always afraid. And then what's happened is it looks kind of stick-like now. Is that because I haven't been cutting it back?
Is that thyme?
Yeah, it has
yes.
It has kind of this stick-like quality.
It needs to be cut back.
It needs to be. Okay, so it's not. I'm afraid to cut it like I'm cutting a baby's hair. You know, like.
Oh no! It needs to be cut back.
Okay,
and it will come back.
Even in the winter, or like at the end of the summer, cut it back. Like when do you start cutting it back, or all the time you're just cutting it back?
All the time. All the time. I cut it back all the time. I probably, in my garden, I probably cut each thyme plant back 5 or 6 times in the summer.
Wow! Oh my gosh! Okay, I really had no idea. So now I understand why you have that gigantic bag. So bring out the bag again. So can you show me the bag? So you have that big bag of thyme. So you brought that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you had that thyme, and then what? So you had the fresh thyme, and then how did you dry it? I mean, it sounds stupid, but I don't know how to dry it. And in the book you talk about, Celeste Garden Delights, you talk about putting it in the oven for low temperature. Is that the way you do it?
You can do it that way. Yep. You can put it on a cookie sheet and put it in the oven at a very low temperature. Like if you have a pilot light, just the pilot light with the door shut. If you don't have a pilot light, the lowest possible temperature with the door a little bit open.
Yeah.
You could also tie it in bundles and hang it from the ceiling in a place that was nice and dry.
Okay.
And it would dry that way.
And this sounds stupid, but how dry is dry enough? Or if it's like...
When it crumbles.
Okay.
It has to really be dry because you don't want it to mold. So there has to be pretty much no liquid content left in there.
Okay. And then you put it in
when you touch it.
Then in your book you talked about putting it in sealed jars.
You can put them in jars too. Yep.
Okay, and then but what you just showed me is a baggie.
Yep. You can put something like this. This is very small.
Right.
So that can go into a bag. That's not a problem.
Right.
Mint can go into a bag.
Oh, okay. So. All right, so now we go to cooking. You're cooking with these items, and it says use 1 tablespoon of thyme. Then what do you take that bag and like crush it with your hand and then like pour it into a tablespoon? What do you do with it?
Well, I would take it. This bag has the stems on it still,
right?
So I would be taking the leaves off the stems.
Yeah.
Use it. I also have a little. See, this is in a jar. This is dill.
Oh wow! Yes, nice.
Some dried dill in there.
Yeah.
And I would use that in recipes. My garlic, I make into garlic powder.
Oh, wow. I never knew what garlic powder is. It's kind of so stupid, right?
It's just dried garlic.
Wow. And then you just churn it out.
Yeah, I put it in you put it in a blender or a NutriBullet or, something like that and make it into powder. And then I put it through a something to take out the big chunks.
Interesting. Okay, got it. So that's what you do for the herbs, so that you basically take them from, and you showed us in the very beginning the mulch. Is that mulch? What was it called? The thing that you do on your windowsill?
Oh, the mosh.
The mosh. Are there other things that you're growing indoors in terms of herbs, or that you can grow? I know you said about southern weather.
I could, if I wanted to, I could bring in some thyme and I could bring in some oregano if I had. But I only have one window that's really a south-facing window.
Right.
So I don't have that much room. So I do the mush, and then I start my onions there.
Okay.
So I don't really have room for anything else. But if I wanted to not do the mush, I could do lettuce.
Right.
I could be growing lettuce there. Or
In
something else.
So you could be growing lettuce on the inside of your house.
You could, if you have the right window.
Right, yeah. Okay, I guess that's the thing I keep on forgetting. Okay, yeah. So as long as you actually had good southern exposure, and good lighting throughout, you could actually grow any of the plants that you just showed me would be fine.
I don't know that you could grow any of them, but there are more than just mush that you could grow.
Yeah, okay.
You know, I think tomatoes would be pretty hard to grow, I think.
No, I mean like any herbs, because I'm not even a plant.
Most of the herbs, okay, yeah.
Most of the herbs I could grow as a house plant on the inside if it had a southern.
You could bring in chives.
Yep, I have most of those things outside in Seattle weather, and they last. I have chives, oregano that I never trim, thyme that I've never trimmed in its lifetime.
So you're going to go out and trim it later today.
I am, and then I'm going to get a bunch of lettuce and spread it all over the place, because then at least I'll be. I mean, with that, when you actually did the little lettuce when you're doing that demonstration, I assume that's enough lettuce to have a salad, right?
That's a good, yeah.
Yeah, it's not like I'm like, oh guys, I got this lettuce leaf that I'll put on my burger. Yay, my whole summer.
Well, what I do is I plant lettuce all summer long because it gets bitter after a few weeks. Oh. So I prepare a whole bed.
Yeah.
And then I'll plant maybe, my beds are about 3 feet wide. I'll plant maybe 1.5 feet, a lot of lettuce. And then I'll wait 2 weeks. I'll mark it. And then I'll wait 2 weeks and I'll plant another 1.5 feet. And then I'll wait 2 weeks and I'll plant another 1.5 feet. And by the time I get to the end of the bed, the first part of the bed is kind of gone by, so I can come back to the first part of the bed. Because it does get bitter.
Yes, it did. That one little leaf, I'm like, yay! I'm like, this doesn't even taste that good after all this work. Okay, so then aside from you showed us that little cloth, or what are the other supplies that you would use that you think are really important? So what are the other kind of, they have all through, you go to a gardening store, there's like 20 different things that they suggest you buy. What are the key ones, do you think?
Well, you want to get a good pair of gardening gloves.
Okay.
Okay, because you're digging in the soil a lot. I don't think you need that many. A pitchfork would be helpful.
Okay. To till the soil, to move the soil.
Right, I don't turn my soil, but I do loosen it up with a pitchfork.
Huh, okay. Is that because you use that in your book, Celeste Garden Lights, you talk about how to get the bed ready with newspaper and all that. Do you do that in your bed so you don't have to till the soil?
I don't do, I don't turn them over at all. So I don't use what are those machines?
Right, the rototillers. Those rototillers. Yeah, when they go pretty deep.
That upsets the whole community of life that's under the soil there, the earthworms, and that's a whole community that's building itself up over the summer. And if you come in there in the spring and you just tear it all up, you're destroying that whole community.
Yeah. How would you like if someone did that to your house? Probably wouldn't.
It's better to mimic nature, under the oak trees, that doesn't get turned over.
Yeah.
The leaves fall and then they kind of decompose into the soil. So I add things on top.
Right.
And then I will use a pitchfork to loosen it up.
Right.
But I don't churn it all up.
Right. Okay, I do a lot of container because sadly I live in the city, so I don't have a lot of stuff. So for containers, I have a piece of, I have this item from last year that's hard as a rock. It's been sitting in my garage. It's, it's not a perennial. Sometimes they are perennials and I just stick them back and they grow and then I don't think about it at all.
Yeah.
But should I be doing anything with that soil? I usually just sit there and chunk the soil until it's nice and soft and everything. What should we do? How is anything different for doing container gardening?
Well, first of all, I would use fresh soil every year. I would put that soil in the compost.
Oh, okay. Mistake number one.
because plants take nutrients out of the soil.
Oh.
So you want to make sure you keep giving them nutrients because they're going to be taking nutrients out of the soil.
Oh.
That's why I would get a really good kind of local compost. I put an unbleached paper towel at the bottom, which is going to decompose eventually, but that keeps the soil in the pot because it needs to have drainage.
Wow.
And then fill it up with some really good compost. Maybe mix in some alfalfa meal, organic alfalfa meal, and some organic kelp meal.
Right.
To give the plant something to eat as well. And then replant whatever you want to plant in there.
Every year I'm supposed to do that? Even with the oregano that's growing? Like if the oregano's been growing there year round, I should switch it out and shake off the soil and
No. I mean, your perennials you can leave. Yeah,
okay.
If they're in the ground. I'm talking about potted plants.
Okay, got it.
Throw a plant in a pot. You need to, you know, it has a very limited amount of soil that it grows in. Because like if you put a tomato in a pot, it's only got this much, and if it was on the ground, it would, would go out.
I see. You'll be able to go and get those nutrients. Well, I even have, okay, so I have an oregano and a thyme plant that is planted in a really big pot. It's like this big. So it's grown, it's fine.
Yeah.
Should I change the soil every year, or that's fine?
I wouldn't know. You don't have to do the soil every year. But if the plant starts to look kind of sickly, or it starts to not do so well, then I would give it new soil.
Okay, got it.
You probably only have to give it new soil every several years, perhaps.
Okay, got it. But you're saying, like, in the case of, I got a fresh new basil plant, I have soil that's in there already. I don't feel like going to buy new soil. You said, no, go get new soil, dump everything that's in there out of there and get it brand new.
Well, take what's in there and put it in a corner. Do you have a yard at all?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, well, pick a spot in the yard to let it compost. You can put it in you can put it in a pile.
Oh, you're saying that soil. Oh, okay.
Right. So you're not actually throwing it away. You're just kind of letting it rest, and you're going to add other stuff to the compost.
Right.
Kitchen waste or whatever you add to the compost.
Right.
So it will get rejuvenated.
Right.
You're not throwing it away, but you're just not using it right away.
Ah, okay, got it. That's presuming I do composting. Yes.
Right.
Good luck with that. Okay, now when you buy seeds, I know we're jumping all over the place. When you buy seeds, where would you go to buy them? Are they all about the same? Do you have to worry about the local thing?
Well, I would try to get local, because that's one of the things about plants. As they keep growing year after year after year in your area, they get used to your area. So you're gonna have more success with plants that are grown in your area and seeds that have come from your area.
Okay.
Because they get acclimated to your area. So if you buy seeds that grew in Arizona last year, they might do okay, but then again, they might not, you know?
That's like when I go to Arizona, I don't do well. I'm just like the plant, right? It's hot. I'm like, I'm hot, I'm sweating, it's dry, I don't understand this. Probably the same thing with the plant.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so the other question I have, so let's wrap up in terms of containers versus in a big garden. So I get it. The advantage of doing like the big garden is they can spread out. You don't have to worry so much about the soil and everything because it's spread out and everything. What are other, and then you said that your husband was nice enough to build a whole wall, so you actually have like a beds of plants that you actually have in your, and then you use to fertilize using the ideas in your book. What are the other things that we need to know about if you do? Because one of the things I notice with container pots is we'll go on vacation and I'll have the kid next door water the plants. I come back and they're all like, dead.
Well, garden centers do sell things that will self-water those things.
Yeah.
And if I was you, I would get that. Then maybe put some newspaper down or some mulch down on top to hold the moisture in.
Yeah.
So you could eat the black and white sections of the newspaper. I would even put like 20 pieces on top to hold the moisture in, and that will help them to not dry out. But things in pots do dry out pretty fast. Okay,
so sorry about my ignorance again. So you have 20 layers of I'm watering the plant. I put these 20 layers of
wet newspaper.
Of wet newspaper on top of it.
Yep.
Go on vacation and just pray that they're not dead.
Well, you can get stuff. Ask at your garden center about self-watering things. They have these things that will slowly continue to water the plant over several days or a week or whatever.
Right.
And they might be a little pricey, but you can use them again and again and again and again. So you just have to pay for them the first year.
Yeah.
You're going to be away, and then the next few years you can just refill them with water and use them again.
Yeah, okay, I'll take a look and see those things. Because that's the saddest thing, because I leave before vacation and it's glorious and I've spent all this time cultivating and they look beautiful, and then I come back and they look like garbage.
Well, the combination of that, of the self-water and some kind of mulch will probably make a big difference.
Yeah. Okay, so going back to herbs, you're saying parsley really easy to grow.
Parsley's pretty easy to grow.
Basil easy to grow. Thyme easy to grow. What other ones would you suggest for just
mint is really easy to grow as well, but it's very, very invasive. So you want to totally put it in its own spot.
Right. And mint,
you don't want it to be anywhere near anything else you want to grow.
Okay. And then, I've seen these beautiful strawberry jars where they have all this. What's the purpose of that? I tried growing strawberries. I'm like, nothing is happening. What is this thing designed to do, and why?
I don't think strawberries are that easy to grow.
Okay. All right. So
I wouldn't recommend strawberries to a beginner.
Okay. And then how about the strawberry jar? Like, it seemed like there's this possibility of having these beautiful things emanating out of this jar. What's supposed to be in it, or is it just strawberries that are supposed to be in those strawberry jars that have those cascades?
I don't know. I'm not familiar with strawberry jars.
They're big ceramic things, and they have holes all over it in a big cylinder, and then they have like herbs that drape over it that you see in magazines. You go, that's pretty, and then I try, and it's like, that's not pretty at all. Nothing. It's like
Well, I would, again, if you're a beginner, I wouldn't try that.
Don't do that,
because it's too many different things, because different plants really like different things. Some plants like to get a little bit dry. Some plants don't ever want to get a little bit dry. Some like it hot. Some like it not so hot. Some like a little bit of shade. Some like full. So every plant has a different what it likes, And so if you have all these different plants in one container, you're asking for trouble.
Yeah, it's community living. Roommates together, they may not like each other,
or they probably don't like the same thing.
Yeah,
so you're going to make some of them happy, and other ones not so much.
Okay, got it. Any other kind of common mistakes that people use when they're growing herbs or planting them out, or what else would you give us novices?
Well, I think one common mistake is people let stuff dry out.
Okay.
And that's definitely a no-no.
Right. So I heard the tip of sticking that thing in there, pulling it out. I got it. If it's dry, means water.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
And that's probably the most common mistake that people make, is letting things dry out.
Yeah. Okay.
Because if it's like a really warm, sunny, windy day, stuff can dry out really fast.
Yeah.
Especially in pots.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is the primary thing that I'm using, because I don't have the land to do much more. Okay,
well, my land is the ledge is very close to the top. Mm-hmm. So my whole garden is somewhat similar to container gardening. Yeah. Because I don't have a really deep soil. Oh, and in the summertime, when it's really warm and sunny and windy, I water it every day.
Wow. Okay.
And early in the morning is the best. If you can't water it early in the morning, wait till the evening.
Is that because if you water it in somewhat in the daytime, most of the water evaporates with the heat?
Also, it can burn the leaves because the water, it makes the sun too hot. Kind of, it amplifies the sun. Oh. But if you've got a plant, if you've got a garden bed that's dry and it's noontime and it's a really hot sunny day and it's windy, water it.
Okay.
Because otherwise it's just going to die.
I'm just going to look at it and say, Celeste told me not to do it because it's going to burn you. So you're just going to have to wait till tomorrow morning or this evening.
The best thing would be to water it under the leaves.
Okay.
If you water it under the leaves, then it's fine.
Right, so then you're not burning the leaves.
Right.
Okay.
But the best time to water is in the early morning.
Okay, sometimes I just sit there with a hose and just sit there and saturate the thing. Is that a problem?
That's not a problem.
Okay, that's
in fact, it's good to saturate, especially once your plants are really well established and they have nice deep roots.
Yes.
You want to do that. You want to really saturate the soil and then let the top dry out a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit in between.
Right. So they're trying to grow deeper and deeper.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Okay. So I know that you actually showed us some of the jarred items. Can you tell us a little bit about those? The kvassas, is that what they're called?
Right, the kvassas.
Yeah, tell us about that in terms of now that we've spent all this time and energy growing these things, what do you do?
Okay, well, I do several different things. One thing I do make my own spaghetti sauce.
I know, I was so impressed when I saw that. That's great.
Yeah, that's good. And I make these fruit kvassas.
Yes. Okay.
So what they end up looking like is this. Okay, this one had blueberry, orange, lemon, and ginger. This one that I'm going to make has blackberry, strawberry, orange, and ginger. Mm-hmm. So what I do is I put the fruit, this blueberries and blackberry, the blackberries and strawberries were things that I picked last summer and I put on cookie sheets and froze them in my freezer.
Oh, okay.
And then I put them in bags in the freezer.
Yeah.
So I just got them out of the freezer a couple hours ago. They're still pretty cold.
Yes.
All right. They're at the bottom. And then I bought the orange. So what I do is I add a little bit of salt. And you want really good quality salt. This is Himalayan pink.
Okay.
So I'll throw a couple of those in there.
Wait, what's the purpose of the salt?
That's what does the fermenting.
Ah, okay.
You have to have the salt. You don't have to have, I also like to add homemade whey. Yeah. You don't have to have whey, but I like to add it because of the bacteria that's in there.
Yeah, and I saw from your book, homemade whey is basically milk that you have sit out on your counter for 2 or 3 days. You strain it.
So it separates into the curds and the whey.
Yes.
Curds is the solid part and the whey is the liquid part.
Right, so you take the liquid part and then now it's... Wait, what is the purpose of the whey? Is that for...
The whey has lactobacillus in it.
Oh.
The purpose of doing the kvass is to get probiotics.
Ah, okay.
Okay. Well, see what I do. What it's going to look like after a couple of days. It's going to look like I'm going to take the fruit out.
Okay.
It's going to look like this, and then I add it to every glass of water that I drink. I put a splash in.
Ah.
Okay. I've only been doing that for about, I would say, 4 years, and since I started doing this, I haven't been sick once.
Wow. Wait, you're kidding me. Wow.
No, I'm not kidding. And I used to get sick every year. Okay, so we added the salt. Yes. We added the whey. Now we're going to add water.
And you said in the book it has to be really good. Can it just be filtered water, or should it?
Well, it can't have any chlorine or fluoride or anything like that in it. It has to be kind of pure water.
Okay. Do I have to go buy water, or is it like if I filter it from a Brita filter or house filter, is that usually enough? Because I
don't know. I have well water, so I can use my own water.
Oh, well, la-di-da. Okay.
But I'm sure you could probably buy some water that didn't have anything in it.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. Okay, so you filled it to the top, and is that a specific kind of jar?
You want to leave a little bit of headspace, so there's a little bit of air at the top, okay? And then shake it good.
Now, is that a canning jar, like one that's airtight and everything?
It's a half a gallon jar.
Okay, but it's not a special jar. You know how you have the canning ones that have the vacuum seal and all that?
Yeah, no, I don't think this, I mean, you probably could can with this, and I bought the lid separate.
Yeah.
You could just do a jar this size.
Yeah, it could just be any jar. Any jar I could use. Okay, got it. All right.
Okay, but then what you do is you cover it with a towel, and you put it on the counter, and a couple times a day you shake it. Maybe once or twice a day you let the gases out, so you just real quick open it and shut it again. Then after 2 or 3 days, you strain all the juice out, and you put it in the fridge.
And then you get that. Yep. What was in that one that you just showed me? You said blueberries, blackberries?
Blueberries, blackberries, orange, lemon, and ginger.
Okay, what's it taste like?
I only put a splash. I put a splash in a glass of water.
Like a splash or a tablespoon? Like how much is...
Just a splash. I mean, it doesn't really matter. Yeah. You can put, you don't want to, and you want to start by just drinking a little bit of it because it helps your body detox.
Okay. Don't drink it straight and go like, hey, what's this taste like?
Well, you don't really want to drink it straight because if your body detoxes too quickly, you won't feel good.
You'll be on the toilet the whole time. Is this correct?
No, but I mean, you'll feel almost like you have a flu.
Oh, really?
Because all those toxins are going into the bloodstream. So you want to start slow. You want to just start with maybe a teaspoon in a glass of water a day, and that's it. And then after you get used to that, a couple of teaspoons a day, and that's it. I drink this all day long, but I'm used to it.
Yeah. Okay, and what does it taste like?
It doesn't have very much flavor.
Oh, so it doesn't really, it's not adding anything aside, it's just the kvass,
it's the probiotics. Right.
Wow.
And the bacteria actually eats the sugars, so I don't think it even has very many calories.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
And how long I can make one of these in about 3 minutes.
Yeah, that's true. It doesn't take a long time, does it?
Put it together in about 3 minutes and then leave it on the counter for a couple days, so I have to shake it now and then.
Yeah.
And let the gases out and strain out the fruit. It's so easy.
And then how long does it keep in your refrigerator till?
Oh, it would keep several weeks, I think, in the refrigerator. But it never lasts that long.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can't, it doesn't seem like there's that much in there if you're going to be drinking one cup a day of that stuff.
Right. Well, you know, it would last a couple of weeks, but I usually go through one of these a week.
Wow. Wow. Okay, so it's basically like a kind of like a probiotic machine in there. And how do you find, if you can't, I mean, I don't know if I can make whey, but I guess it seems pretty easy. You just take milk. Does it have to be whole milk or any kind of milk?
It has to be raw milk. But you don't have to have the whey. You definitely have to have the salt. Because the salt is what does it. But you can make cabage with pumpkin or squash or, you know, turmeric or whatever you have. The nice thing about it is you can make it with leftovers. You know, so sometimes if I cook a butternut squash, I take some of the butternut and I put it into a cabage.
Right, because I guess you don't really taste a lot of the flavor regardless. So what is
there isn't much flavor.
So what's the
It's really nice to use a lot of different kinds of fruits and vegetables.
Yeah.
Because different fruits and vegetables will attract different kinds of bacteria. So the whole idea is to get all different kinds of really good bacteria in your system.
Oh, I get it now.
Take care of all those bugs that come along.
Wow. Okay, so the whole thing is you're trying to create, and I didn't even know what probiotics was. I mean, I just take it in a pill and I swallow it and it's done. But you're trying to get all the different bacterias and kind of start that in your good bacteria in your stomach.
This is much better for you than a pill.
Yes, yeah. So you're taking the bacteria from the fruits or vegetables, you're fermenting it, and then taking it a little by little, kind of like I got allergy shots, little by little, so your body starts building up the probiotics in your body. Yep. That's brilliant and so cheap. You know what I mean?
It's very inexpensive.
Probiotics is so expensive.
Right, and you can when you can make them yourself and it's not expensive at all.
Yeah,
it's a better way to go.
Man, you are a woman of many facts, figures, knowledge, all of which is in this book, Celeste Garden Delights. We have Celeste Longacre. Thank you. That was so much fun.
Cool.
To see all that stuff. Thank you so much for being
pleasure.
on the show.
It means so much to me that you're listening to the show. Would love your support in any way by giving me comments below or to subscribe to the show or share the show with friends. Thank you again for your support. Love and blessings.